Welcome into the Pacific Office Automation postgame scoreboard show, and with a giant exhale for the 11th time this season, we will have a victorious Pacific Office Automation postgame scoreboard show. The Ducks winners tonight, 16-13 in a grinder in Madison. The number one Ducks, they improved to 11-0. They are now going into the bye. They are also guaranteed a spot in the Big Ten championship game. So that is all locked up. Ryan Buckley, Will Ortner, Jordan Schultz here with you. Fellas, I was a little tight for that one. I don't know about the two of you.
It looked like everyone was a little tight for that one. Why do you think there were so many penalties for the Ducks? I talk all the time about how it needs to look a certain way, and I felt like through much of the Dan Lanning era, there hasn't been many games that I can think of where you showed up and the entire team didn't look a certain way. It didn't look like it needed to be to that standard. When you've had issues in the past, it's been a key player at a key point at attack, and they have not performed to the level that they needed to, so then they got replaced. This was straight up, you did not show up. The minute that Gabriel threw the interception, trying to get the ball to low, down in the low red zone, it felt like everything changed because it went from, oh, you're going to march down, score, you're up by 10. This game is over. We talk all the time about you get up big, you take their soul from them, and then you walk out of this game easy and you don't make it close. Well, buddy, you made it close. You threw that interception, Wisconsin got life, and all of a sudden, it was not a cakewalk.
Schulte, how we feeling?
Thankful that the Ducks escaped with a win. Seriously, I think thankful is probably the best word that I can use to describe my feelings right now. I think last week I described Oregon's win as like herky-jerky and gritty.
Yep.
There was no herky-jerky about this game. That was just gritty. And it's, to be noted that this is their third long road trip in 5 or 6 weeks. They had to go to Purdue, then back home, then to Michigan. And now, once again, they're obviously back on the road out in Madison, Wisconsin. And the lowest scoring game for Oregon all season without Jordan Birch, without Tez, without Marcus Harper. There are a lot of pieces that we're missing. And I don't know if we're just kind of hoping that you could show up at this point of the season and still play to your standard, or if you're, maybe just a little bit more comfortable with getting to the bye week in any way that you can. And I think that, unfortunately, that's kind of what the Ducks were forced into tonight, because Will's right. They just were not ready from the get-go. We've seen, some sloppy games from Oregon, but it was like 0 to 60, the entire game, 0 to 60 minutes was a lot of sloppy play, and many different drives where Oregon gave up penalties, and that's just one aspect of their sloppy play that allowed Wisconsin to stay in the game.
There's so many things that stand out about this game, and we'll get to as much of it as we possibly can. I want to remind you that you can reach us on the fan text line. That's 503-864-6326. Also, we're on YouTube at 1080 The Fan, and of course on Twitter at 1080 The Fan as well. So send us your thoughts on the game. Obviously, there's a lot for us to break down, but I didn't necessarily think the Ducks weren't ready as much as this felt like the type of game that you get this late in the season when you're on the road, when you're doing the long travel thing that everyone's been talking about. And for as much as there is to clean up, I think wins like this are super important for teams with big aspirations, because I think they forced you to face things about yourselves in key moments that if you're just mowing through everyone, you're not ready for how that feels when you get there, when everything does get tight. And so I like that Oregon had to go through a game like this. Obviously, there are things I wish that they did better, but I didn't think Dylan Gabriel was especially sharp tonight. I thought he was great with his legs, but I thought just throwing the ball, he was a little bit off, and there were a couple things. We talk also about how luck plays a part in seasons like this, and the way the ball bounces. There were a couple things tonight that made me think, man, it just might not be the night. When Ferguson falls down on a guaranteed 6, it looked like, and the way the ball literally bounced a couple times, you thought, I don't know how this one is going to go, and maybe they won't be able to pull it out. But you get some bounces late, but also you're forced to come up with huge stops. And at the end of the game, Dan Lanning essentially elects to lean on his defense because he goes for it on a fake deep in Badgers territory. Whether you do it via fake or whether you do it via your offense, he was going to go. And you're basically saying, if we don't get it, we're going to put the game in the defense's hands. Like we trust them that much. And before we get to the defense's performance, let's talk about this defense, because there was a time in this game, the last drive of the first half and the first drive of the second half, I thought, oh boy, like this team's on their heels, and I don't like the way this is trending. And all of a sudden, you get a stop in the red zone late in the third quarter, and it seems like everything turns around. You start standing them up at the line of scrimmage again. And again, you don't let them score. It was a cast of characters. You had some great plays in the secondary. You had some great plays in the linebacking core, and you had some dominant play on the defensive line.
Well, you have a superstar at defensive end. And that's just the truth about it. And I think the beauty of the growth of Mateo Uyunglele is that he is Dan Lanning's guy. This isn't Mario Cristobal's guy. This isn't someone that you went out and you got in the portal like Jordan Birch. This is a guy that you identified. You went out and you recruited him in a high school. And actually, the person you should be thanking for and the reason that you have Mateo Uyunglele is Dante Moore. Thank you, Dante Moore, for not committing and originally committing to UCLA. Remember, he decommitted when Dillingham took the job at Arizona State.
Okay.
When he takes the job at Arizona State, he decommits. Uyunglele was going somewhere else. You take the money that you had for Dante Moore, and Uyunglele was one of the people that you funneled more NIL money to. And that was
domino effect, sliding doors, call it whatever you want. That's a nice little break there.
100%, because that's the biggest get in that recruiting class right now to me. What he has been able to do this year, as good as Jordan Birch is, and I'm not here to diminish Jordan Birch. The only reason Jordan Birch won't get all the accolades that he should is because of the injuries that he has had to deal with this year and the missed games he's had to. Mateo Uyunglele is your best D lineman right now. With what he's been doing. At the beginning of the year, it was Derek Harmon. At certain points, it was Jordan Birch. But whenever you need a big stop, it's always Uyunglele. And against Ohio State, it's 3rd and 3. He is one-on-one with one of the best left tackles in college football, and he beats him, and he makes a stop. In this game, when you need a big stop, he drops back into coverage. He covered from a defensive end position, and I understand that it's a zone, and it's what he's supposed to do, but he lays the absolute wood on a Wisconsin wide receiver, and he does it legally. There's no issue about it being unnecessary roughness.
Textbook perfect hit.
Beautiful. When you needed a sack, he got a sack. When you needed a tackle for loss in the backfield, he got it. And I understand that it's a tip, but on tips and overthrows, you've got to have those. And Mateo Uyunglele finds a way to get that interception and end the game. You have a true superstar at defensive end, and he's 19. He's only going to get better. He was unbelievable in this game. The rest of the defensive line, they played great too. I'm not here to diminish anything that Caldwell did. I'm not here to diminish anything, that Bryce Betcher did. I'm not here Tatum Tuioti, but Mateo Uyunglele is a star, and this was his coming out game.
I loved it. I loved every bit about it. We've seen all these, I don't even want to call them flashes. We've seen plays like this from him all season. I like that you outlined the versatility of the 3 plays because they're doing all completely different things. And the last 2 of them, to me, showed not just all the athletic talent to make the plays, but so much football savvy to drop off the line to make that hit over the middle, to force a crucial 4th down. And then to presence of mind and awareness to know where that ball got tipped. Another offensive lineman has hands on you. It's just, it was remarkable. It was an outstanding performance.
He's a star.
But the offense was sputtering for a time in this game.
Can I quickly point out,
the
defense,
jump in.
Actually, it was weird because they got better in the second half than they did in the first. And I think that's something when you call this win a gritty win, you're like, okay, the defense can't get off the field. They're looking tired in the third quarter. You're worried about a stop at the end of the game being needed and if they can actually do that. But thank goodness, I don't know if it was their preparation or just the fact that I think they came in as the 4th best team at knocking passes down in all of college football. So kind of returned to what you expect this defense to be, and that allowed them to hold on against Wisconsin.
And maybe that's something too to key on, Will, because I noticed them talking about it on the broadcast, the TV broadcast, a lot tonight. They talk about Tosh Lupoy and his the verbiage he uses as ball excellence. He talks about that as trying to get your hands on the football. And
Fair.
The stat that Jordan brings up, how hard is it though? As that seems easier said than done. Just get your paws up. I mean, that feels like, because if you're always putting your arms in the air, you're getting pushed around. It has to be timing related. You're on the line.
Yeah.
What is the kind of savvy or technique or training that goes into being able to execute that, knock that many passes down like they did this week, like they did last week?
Well, it's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. One, it's great timing by the defensive line. It's them being taught, don't get your hands up until you absolutely have to. What D linemen are taught, if you're kind of stonewalled right from the get-go, and there's a nicer way to say this, but this is how the O linemen say it, and so that's how I'm going to say it. You get lazy. D linemen are inherently lazy, and if they know, hey, this offensive lineman just stonewalled me, I just tried to do a move, it didn't work, I'm stuck at the line of scrimmage, I'm not getting to the quarterback. So what do? I stop. And now I'm almost becoming a secondary player because I'm watching the quarterback to see if I can get my hands up in the way, or if he tries to scramble, now I can get back into the defense. I can get back to making a play. Because if I'm trying to get after the quarterback and I get off the line fine, now I'm battling the offensive lineman. That's still in my pass rush. But if my pass rush gets stopped, I become lazy and I try to time everything. But what they do a great job of Oregon is understanding the O-line is taught to finish hands high. So when a D lineman puts their hands up or they jump up in the air to get their hands up, O-linemen are taught to slam them because you don't want to have their hands up in the passing lanes. So your understanding as a D lineman, I'm going to jump up and try and knock this ball down. I'm going to take a shot. It's like the old school slot wide receivers that are like, I'm coming across the middle. I'm going to take a shot. So I better hold on to the football.
Justice Low on line one.
Right, because it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But I'm going to sacrifice my body for my team. So it's a great job of coaching, and it's a great job of players being selfless and understanding this is going to hurt, whether I get my job done or not. So I better get my job done and make that pain worth it.